Right, so for our next speaker, right, as we are going to head on with our next session, is actually a workshop. This is brought to us by Juan Araya, who is actually a certified pen tester and a cybersecurity specialist. And he currently works for Tata Consultancy Services in Spain as a cloud security lead. Right, so this session is actually a workshop where all of us will actually learn from him on how to use tools to apply steganography techniques to hide text, files, and even potentially malwares in pictures and audio files. Right, so he's actually from Costa Rica and relocated to Spain in 2019. And he has actually been participating as a speaker in multiple conferences on cybersecurity across the world. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to invite Juan Araya to join us for the next session.
That and of course, Tata Consultancy Services in relocated to Spain just 1 year. So thank you very much for this great opportunity. So the agenda is going to be very simple, and I hope you like it and have a great time with me during this session. First, I'll talk about what is Steganography. Then I'll talk about malware and specifically about Stegware. And finally, as always, it's good to provide some best practices. So I'll talk about security issues. So this is a very interesting phrase that I was mentioning regarding what is the final objective of steganography. The more hidden the venom, the more dangerous it is in order to be able to send, malicious payloads and messages with under the radar. Now, is this something new? The answer would be no. This has been used in the past for many years in order to send secret messages, for example, to coordinate wars in the past. Also in the present, it's been used to send malicious code in order to send hidden information. In the future, it's going to be used a lot. Believe me, a lot. Why? Because you can use steganography to send a ransomware. You can use steganography to steal information pretty easily. And as you know, nowadays the technology is enhancing, it's improving. With 5G, you will be able to send a lot of information a lot faster. So that also means that you can also steal information using steganography even a lot faster and in a more efficient way. So as I mentioned, this is not something new. For example, in the past, they used to have they use a slave. This slave, they shave his hair, they write a tattoo with a secret message, in other words, is specifying when to attack Persia. They wait till the hair of this person grow again, and then they send this slave to the target. This guy walking literally in front of the army. Nobody knew that he was carrying a secret message. At the other side, they shape again his head, and they were able to see the tattoo with the secret message on his head. During the famous World War, unfortunately, that situation that happened several years ago. Now, in some pictures, they hide a lot of information in very small dots that are not readable with our human eyes. And I'm sure that most of you play around, when you were kids and you send some secret message to your friends or to a girlfriend, using invisible ink. So that's a very simple but very interesting, example of a steganography that has been used. Now, at your right, you're going to see a text message that were sent by a German spy. If you read this text message, it doesn't seem to carry a secret information. However, if you use a second letter of each word, you will be able to extract this secret message from the text. So these are just very simple example of how steganography has been used in the past to perform or coordinate attacks. Now, what is the current impact? So it is impacting business. Why? Because with steganography, and specifically with Stegware, you can use it to steal information. And if information is stealed or information leakage is exposed and it goes to the news, of course, it will impact the reputation of business. Many investors will start selling their stocks, and it will impact, sooner or later the business. As some businesses are not going to be able to recover after a Stegware attack. From the security perspective, it will impact the the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. For example, during a ransomware attack that was coordinated using Stegware. Consumers, clients are going to be, unfortunately, be impacted on the data privacy, availability, and integrity of their data. And of course, at the end, this is going to represent economic losses. Now, how can you use the steganography to perform an attack? So the most simple way to do this is using a technique known as LSB, or less significant bit. And of course, you will use social engineering in order to make people download those pictures or to access a website that contains this type of pictures that will contain confidential data. And once again, a picture is not the only carrier. That's just one example. Now, let's look at this example. This beautiful picture that appears at the left could contain an interesting surprise. It could contain a text with IP addresses, with information about when to perform an attack, with a hyperlink in order to download malware. It could contain the actual payload that the attacker wants you to download. It could contain also files. In other words, it could hide, for example, an Excel file with information of all your customers. It could copy that file, insert it or embed it in a big picture, and that way the attacker could receive the picture with the file embedded. So if you want to recover your Excel file with sensitive information, then as you can see, you can ask for maybe a ransom or just make damage. Now, you can not only send sensitive information and steal sensitive files using pictures. You can also do it on PDF files, Word files, on videos, on audio files like MP3, like WAV files, and different other formats. And the picture at the left is the original picture. The picture at the right is the picture that contains a hidden message. And as you can see, with just our human eyes, we are not going to be able to detect if there's a difference. And why? Because with LSB as an example, the idea is to modify the pixel data. We will be modifying very small bits from a pixel in a way that the resulting color will be very similar, but in the binary format, it will represent data that we want to send under the radar. So how we're going to do it is very simple. You know that every single picture will contain pixels, and the color of the pixel will be represented in a 3 color coding, in this case using the red, green, and blue. And with the red, green, and blue, depending on the values that you're going to specify, then it will represent, I don't know, a red or a blue or a yellow or a different tone of color. Now, these colors are going to be represented with RGB with a value of between 0 to 255. So as you can imagine, this is going to look very similar to an IP address from the perspective that is going to contain 8 bytes. So as an example, look at this. We are having 3 different tone of colors. They look very, very similar. The only thing that I'm changing will be the value for the blue color. You see, 255, 229, and 204. For human eye, these 3 colors looks very similar. However, you can use it to make this type of damage. For example, the data at the left is a piece of the code that I want to hide, right? With this piece of code in binary mode, it represents the color coding of 178. The original pixel that I want to modify, the resulting color or tone is 117. Now, these two are different if you transform this into a color coding. However, if we start playing around with the less significant bits, in other words, those bits that I'll be able to change and will not be, and the resulting color would be very, very similar, or the resulting value will be very similar, those are the less significant bits. So in this particular example, I'm going to take some bits from the original pixel, some bits that I want to hide from the original message, and the resulting color code will be 123. So if this is the text that I want to, or the value that I want to hide, the resulting color 178. This is the original one, 117. This is the original tone of code, tone of color from 1 pixel in a big image. And this is the color coding, the resulting color coding of a value that contains a part of the secret message. So you see, this tone of color is very, very similar. However, this one has been modified, and this is the one that contains a section of the hidden message. Now, how hard can this be if you want to do it on real life? It's extremely easy, and that is the most concerning part. There are many open source applications. There are many free tools. There are many tools that you don't need admin rights to be able to hide information, to install an application, to hide a file inside a picture, a file inside any other type of files format. So this is a pretty interesting part. So let's go to the basics. For example, a very simple one could be just the copy command from Windows. Copy, as you know, every single Windows computer will have the copy command. However, if you use it like this, you specify copy/b because you are going to modify the file in binary mode. You're going to specify which is going to be the cover file. In other words, the original file where you are going to hide the information. Then you're going to specify the text file. This text file could contain IP addresses, could contain information about your customers, could contain information about a new product that the customer will be delivering or selling. And of course, which is going to be the file that will contain the hidden information. So in this particular example, the text that I want to hide will be just the source code of a new application. And this is a very nice picture, with a lot of pixels, a high definition picture. So using that, the copy command, you can just specify copy/b, then the name of the file, as I just mentioned. In this case, the name of the file will be cover.jpg. Then the name of the text file, which in this case will be source code, in this case, código fuente in Spanish. It means source code. And finally, then the new name of the picture that will contain the hidden message. Now, these two pictures are going to look extremely similar. Just with our human eyes, we are not going to detect that there's been a change. However, at the picture at your right, you're going to detect one little difference. In that case, will be the size of the file. It will increase just a little bit. Now, for example, if you want to go even increase your chances to not be discovered, you can use the cat command from Linux. The cat command will not only embed the information, but it will also compress. So that way, it will not trigger alerts or suspicious. Now, once the file has been, once information has been embedded on the picture, how can you extract it? Very simple. Just open up the file that contains the hidden message using a text editor like this one. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you will be able to see the actual information in plain text. So simple as that, just using copy command and just extracting the data. Another way to do it, if you don't like to use command line interface, you can use OpenStego. This is an open source application that you can install. Pretty easy. As you can see, you will specify which is the text or message that you want to hide, which is going to be the cover file, which is going to be the file that will contain the information. You can add some security, such as encrypting the file, even adding a password, and that's it. Simple as that. You can use it on, using this graphic user interface. This is another very interesting example. In this case, I'm not going to hide a text into a picture. In this case, I'm going to hide text in a text file. How can we do it? There's a script known as Snow. This is an open source application that you can download from this website. It's extremely easy to use. Look at the code that I have at the bottom. It says, you're going to type snow/c/m, because m will be the actual message that I want to hide. In this case, I want to hide the text código top secret. Okay. Then -p, because I want the file to be able, in order to open the file, you need to specify a password. So the password would be Maradona. Then the name of the file, in this case, bobmarley.txt, and the name of the cover file, in this case, nowoman.cry.txt. So with this tool, it is not only going to be able to embed the information, but also it's going to compress the data. And once again, it will not show the information. If you open up the actual file, you will not see any difference. So as you can see, I'm opening up the original file and open up the file that contains the hidden information, which in this case is just a phrase, the top secret source code. However, if you want to extract information, it's pretty simple. Just again, use snow/c/p, the password, and you will be able to see in plain text what was the message that was sent and that was hidden. Now let's make a quick demo. live demo so you can see how easy it is. So step number one, just open up a Paint. If you want to do it with me, feel free to do it. It's extremely easy to do. So for example, I'm going to put them here, just a text. Okay, that's a very simple and classic one. Okay, then I'm going to draw a line. Perfect. Sorry. There it goes. Okay, now I'm going to save this file. There it goes. So step number one, create a picture, embed some text that you want to send. That's all. Step number two, you need to use Coagula. This is another open source application. It's a free one. You can download it and it's very easy to use. Just open up the file. In this case, I'm going to go to GeekCam. All right. Now on this section, if you're using a headset like I do, before executing this process, make sure that you remove your headset from your ears. Otherwise, you will get deaf. Why? Because it will make a very strange noise and it will be very uncomfortable. So bear with me. All right. So what just happened? The idea with this is that with Coagula, we are going to convert the picture into a sound file. So I'm going to click on Save Sound As. I'm going to put the name of the file, go to the Coagula, put whatever I want, music. Okay. And now I'm going to try to extract the data. I'm going to use Sonic Visualizer. Look how simple it is. Right now, I'm going to open, in this case, this is the file, the audio file. Now on this audio file, I don't see nothing weird, it's just an audio file. Now, however, if I go to layer, then add a spectrum, select all channels. Now there's something funny down here. Now, in order to read it a lot better, I'm going to change it on black and white. And then I'm going to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And there it is. Simple as that, I was able to hide text into a picture, convert the picture into an audio file, and then transform the audio file, using this tool in order to be able to hide the data and to extract the data that has been hidden. Okay, so this is a very simple live demo. Now, what are the risks of this Stegware? So number one will be information leakage. Why? Because you can create easily a command that will go and look for your files and embed all the files into another file, and just send it, upload it to an FTP file, send it via email, whatever you want. Then secret communication for criminals and terrorists, definitely, as you saw, maybe the terrorist is going to send, using a social media website, they're going to send an audio file, like an MP3 file. They're going to upload some files in Facebook or Twitter, and the terrorists at the other side will just download the files, extract the data, and they will be able to communicate between each other under the radar. Transfer of payloads, you can easily create your payloads using Metaxploit, and you can hide those payloads and even parse those payloads in different pictures and send it to the attacker to the victims using social engineering techniques. And of course, ransomware. You can hide a ransomware. You can even hide the URL where the ransomware is going to be available, embed it into the picture, send the picture. Then with a script, you will be able to extract the data, download the ransomware, and boom, you're going to be able to encrypt the data and take control and ask for money. Now, I'm sure that most of you like to send memes. We call it memes in Spanish. This type of pictures that we send once in a while in order to have fun with our friends, and we share using different social media like Twitter, like WhatsApp, like Facebook. Now, have you ever wondered, who create those pictures? Is there a possibility that inside those pictures could be malware? The answer would be there's a high probability that these pictures could contain something funny, something that could affect our computers, could affect the confidentiality of our data. This is an example of a Stegware attack. In this case, this person was stealing sensitive information from General Electric, and he was sending this information to China. So he was prosecuted, of course. But how he was doing that? He was hiding all this data into pictures and sending those very beautiful landscape pictures and vacations related pictures to his personal email address. And finally, they were able to discover that he was sending sensitive information inside of pictures. Now let's talk about security measures. So definitely training. Cybersecurity awareness is extremely important so people doesn't fall into social engineering techniques such as phishing and vishing, threat intelligence. If you're able to apply threat intelligence into your security solutions, you will be able to block proactively IP addresses, some patterns, different information that will be able to detect and mitigate. Of course, if you want to understand what this Stegware does, you can use a sandbox environment to be able to analyze it. Make sure that you implement a content filtering solutions. For example, you use this umbrella to block access to a specific website that are not related with your job. Insiders, why insiders? Because they have access to everything. They already know your infrastructure. They already know your technology. So make sure to keep an eye on possible insiders because they could be using steganography to steal information and sell it in the deep web. Software and application control, be very careful and make sure that only those that really need, for example, admin rights, only those should be able to download application and install applications. The other you should be using something like a SCCM, in order to control which applications are allowed and which are not allowed. Anti-malware solution, monitor your outgoing traffic, make sure that you use an endpoint security solution to be able to detect, any change or behavior on your computer, like a host-based detection system as an example. And of course, there are some new Stegware detection systems. I'm going to show you just one. In this case, this has been developed by McAfee. You can even try the capabilities of this technology, where you can basically upload a file. This technology, as you can see, is based on a cloud solution, in this case, AWS. The file is going to be uploaded in a S3 bucket. There's a Lambda function that is going to analyze the file and it's going to try to detect if there's a steganography, if a steganography has been used to try to steal or hide information. And at the end, you will be able to see the results. So thank you very much. I don't know if there's any question at this point.
All right. Thank you so much, Juan. So I'm just quickly looking through the Q&A list over here, and I didn't see any questions that came in during your session, Juan. So, but then again, I just want to call out that, as we are waiting for if there's more questions coming in, that was really an informative session on steganography, right? Like, I've learned a lot and think about security as well as, how you can think about detection as well. So that was really, really exciting. Right, okay, I think there hasn't been any other questions so far. So I think we should be good for now. Right, no worries. Otherwise, thank you so much, Juan. And I think that was really, really insightful session. So thank you for going through, with us, sharing with us a little bit about, hiding PII and malware with steganography and how do you even potentially detect them? And what are some of the applications that we have seen in today's context as well? Right, okay, cool.